Hello and welcome to this review of Hornby's Lord Nelson class number 851 Sir Francis Drake. So a little bit of history on the class then. They were built as a 4-cylinder express locomotive for the Southern Railway, designed by Richard Maunsell, with construction beginning at Eastleigh in 1925. They were intended to haul boat trains between Victoria and Dover after a need for locomotives to haul the 500-ton express trains on this route arose. Building on the success of the S15 and N15 classes before it, Maunsell settled on a 460 4-cylinder design as the N15 and S15 had been. Technicalities meant that this loco had in fact 8 beats per revolution rather than 4, so it sounded much more powerful. They entered service, but the class only saw a production run of 16 because factors like the stock market crash of 1929 reduced continental traffic. The class was initially known as the most powerful in Britain because of its tractive effort of 33,000 pounds. However, the GWR shortly introduced the King class to regain their title of having the most powerful locomotive in Britain, which had previously been held by the Castle class. After operating for some years on the London to Dover line, operating lighter 460-ton Golden Arrow trains, they were gradually introduced onto western routes such as the Waterloo to Southampton dock boat trains. Bulliard specifics introduced in the 1940s effectively replaced this class, and they were becoming obsolete, and by 1962 they had all been withdrawn. One locomotive is preserved, number 850 Lord Nelson, which is part of the National Collection and often runs on the Midlands Railway, although it's currently in storage awaiting an overhaul. Alright, so the Lord Nelson, there was a bit of a gap in the southern express locomotive market when it came to this. There was the N15 and the S15 and the schools class as well, but there was the only Lord Nelson that existed was a Bachmann model with tooling from about 1992, and it wasn't very good. It had a split chassis and it was all a bit it wasn't a particularly good locomotive. So Hornby released this new tooled version for sale in 2019, and it was priced at £169.99, but has already sold out on the Hornby website. This model was pre-ordered through Hatton's, so it only cost me £140, but it's still a considered investment. So before we open the box, I should say I haven't actually looked at the locomotive yet. I've only seen the box, so this is an entirely new experience for me as well as for you. Looking at the back of the box, or the back of the sleeve, we can see there's, as usual now, lots of information on the history of the class. It's 7P classification, so quite powerful, and it just covers the history of the locomotive class, which is quite a nice thing to have on the back of the box, just so you get a bit of background before you look at your model. Now, without further ado, let's get into the box. So it's quite tightly packed in there. The sleeve is quite hard to get off, but I managed to get there eventually. So we're familiar with the packaging now. It's the sort of block of ice packaging. It's known as this box with the plastic insert here. As usual, there is locomotive operating instructions fitted on this sheet, which just covers basic maintenance, lubrication, taking off the body, where to put detailing, etc., etc. So that's nice, and then in this block of ice is the locomotive as well as the detailing. So let's get this open. So there's a pack of detailing in the box. So there's brake rods, footsteps for the front, some pipe work, and some more pipe work and a coupling as well. So that's nice. I would probably fit those later on. And in the block of ice, safely enclosed, is the actual model. Quite tight in fit, and there she is. So the locomotive in detail then. Right. I have actually just noticed there's some oily residue on the locomotive, so I shall just get a cloth and wipe that off. So it actually looks like that wasn't oil. If I just, you can see there's a splodge of something here. Now I don't know what that is, but it certainly shouldn't be there. So I'll certainly email Hornby and see what that might be and if I can get rid of it. Which is a bit of a shame really, because that's the first thing that I saw when I took the locomotive out of the box, which is probably not the intended reaction. So I'll look at the rest of the model anyway. So looking at the front of the locomotive, the detail is as you would expect. Buffer beam detail is fairly minimal. The details are kept in a separate packet. There's a brake pipe, lamp irons, and the usual sort of smoke box detail as well. So there's a handrail and a lamp iron as well. But other than that, it's fairly basic. There is a small sticker here, not sure if you can make it out on the camera, a little yellow warning sticker, so that's quite nice. The side of the locomotive, the paint finish seems to be quite good, quite uniform across the body, which is good, apart from of course the unfortunate splodge of something there. The running plate, quite nice. There's a few rivets on the running plate, but there's not across the rest of the boiler, which is strange, but it is prototypical. It was a welded boiler, I believe, so there wouldn't have been any rivets. The valve gear is nicely picked out here as well. The clack valves on the side painted in gold or brass, as well as the reverser in silver. The nameplate there, Sir Francis Drake, that's quite nice. Don't know if it's etched or not, but it looks fairly well printed anyway. The wheels, I think Hornby's manufacturing methods tend to use plastic inserts for the centre of the wheels, which means they're quite often a slightly different colour to the body, and I think that's happened here, which is a common feature on Hornby models, but it's not much we can do about that, so it's a bit of a shame, but they do appear to be slightly different colour. And again on the front truck here as well, they're slightly different to the body colour, you can see, which is a shame, but there we are. There's more detailing on the underside here, some pipe work underneath the cab, and then on the side of the cab there's a nice builder's plate. It says 851 Eastleigh Works, which is correct. The top of the firebox then, the safety valves are picked out in brass, as is the whistle and the pipe work along the top, which is nice. So looking into the cab then, don't know how well you can see that, but there is quite a lot of cab detail in there. Everything's picked out in gold paint or red for the regulator and the brake wheel, so that's quite nice. The dials are printed as well, so yeah, quite a nicely detailed cab, and plenty of small details around the edge as well. The little doors here and here are quite a nice addition. Looking to the tender then, the paintwork again is quite nice, uniform, no rivets because there weren't any, so that's correct. But it looks a bit plain, but then again they were quite plain. The tender feels very light in comparison to the locomotive, which is unusual, but there we are. The top of the tender, the coal is, I think, it sounds like it's removable, which is good because it's not particularly realistic. And I shall hopefully be removing that and replacing it with my own coal in due course. The rest of the tender, fairly plain as you'd expect, but nicely detailed anyway. The rear of the tender then, the buffer beam has rather more details on it than the front buffer beam does. more lamp irons and more rivets on the buffer beam. The buffers are sprung, and we have a nice NEM style coupling, so you can change them out and fit with it whichever coupling you want, if that's what you want to do. Other than that, the back is fairly plain and looks fairly ordinary. So the front of the locomotive is quite basic. There's not a lot here. There's no rivets on the buffer beam or anywhere else really. It's quite plain, but then again I think that's true to prototype, so that's fair enough. The buffers are indeed sprung on the front as well, so that's nice, and there is a NEM coupling socket on the truck at the front if you want to fit a coupling onto the front and run it backwards, although that's not strictly correct. The other side is largely the same. There's not much difference to the left, but it's very nice. The paintwork is nice and uniform. But again, it is just a shame about the splodge of something on the side there, which is a bit of a shame. So yeah, that is quite disappointing. I mean, the model itself is very nice. The loco has a lot of weight. The tender is very light. I'd probably look at putting some weight into that. But yeah, it is a shame to find that there's a splodge of what looks like glue on my locomotive. So I'll email Hornby and I will let you know what happens to that, because that is a shame. I really did expect better from Hornby on that one. So performance-wise, I haven't run it yet. I've only just opened it, as you know. I will look at getting it run at some point with a long train of coaches, and I will certainly comment on how it runs, and I might well include a video of it as well. So in conclusion then, I think it's a nice model. There's lots of detail where there's details to be found. There's nice paintwork, but I think sadly the whole model is sort of overshadowed by the fact that there's this unsightly splodge of what looks like glue on the top of my boiler, which is quite unpleasant, because I expect better from Hornby these days, really. So I will definitely contact them and ask them why that's there and if they can rectify it, because it's not acceptable for a model that costs at recommended retail price £170. So that is a bit of a shame. It's quite disappointing to see that. So I'll let Hornby and Happens know that that's there and see what they can do about it. And but otherwise, it's generally quite a nice model, and I'm fairly pleased with it. And I should be getting it running fairly soon on a layout at some point. So overall, it looks quite nice. The paintwork is crisp. The detail is nice where there is detail to be found. There's not much you can include on a locomotive like this, but where there is detail, it's nice to see. The cab detail is very nice. The tender detail is quite good as well. But again, it's just a shame that my model has got an imperfection on it. So yeah, I shall shortly be running it if possible. I will of course, keep you updated on what's going on. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do comment down below if you've had similar paintwork issues. Feel free to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and of course follow me on Facebook and Twitter for updates regarding this model and all the others, as well as upcoming videos, etc, etc. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.